Hello! It's Christmas Eve, so I don't plan to do a lot of serious work in the shop today. It's a good day to take some time off and spend it in the house with my wife. But there have been some questions about my coal forge hood, and I'm not going to talk too much about forge design and all that, but I thought I would talk about the hood, where the idea comes from, why this hood works the way it does a little bit, and maybe light a fire so you can get a good idea of exactly what it does. Got my nice cup of wassail for Christmas Eve, so hopefully we can stay warm. There are two terms that we look at when we look at a coal forge or any solid fuel forge. Coal, coke, charcoal, the terms still apply, and they're practically the same thing. It just get a little bit different characteristics from the fuel when you're working on them. But one is blast, and this is a bottom blast, meaning the air comes in from the blower and comes up through the tweer and into the fire pot and feeds air from the bottom of the fire. The other option is a side blast, which comes into the side of a trough. Doesn't really have a cast iron fire pot. And the side blast forges are real popular, I think, in England, but not too much in the United States for some reason. I'd like to try one sometime. I think there's some real intriguing possibilities, but I haven't used one yet. So if you're using one, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But we're talking more about the hood and the chimney, which in this forge is a side draft. You can also have a top draft, which means the smoke goes out straight up a chimney. But this is a side draft forge hood. And there are some advantages to this. One advantage that you can see here is that there's just simply nothing in your way up here. That gives you three sides and the top to get oddball shapes into. So if you have something that needs to have a leg standing up in the air for some reason so you can heat the underside, you've got plenty of room here to do that. I don't know that that's really that important. And that's not the main reason you build a side draft forge. Or I should say a side draft forge hood. The main reason is that this is down close to the fire. For room air to be drawn up the chimney, it has to come across the fire pot. And that really helps create an effect where the air and the smoke all want to go up the chimney. In a top draft forge, a lot of times there's so much volume of room air that is trying to go up the chimney with the smoke that it just can't handle it, and they tend to be smokier, and they don't draw the smoke out of the shop as well as a side draft does. And there are lots of versions of this that people have made out there. I don't think there's anything really available commercially, although there might be. But if you search the internet, there's lots of plans. The plans for this particular hood were taken from the Blacksmith's Journal. I don't believe that's being published anymore. You might be able to find it online. The last time I looked, you could still buy digital copies, and I'd have to look and find out what issue it was in. It's been years since I've built this, and it was an old issue then, so it may be 20 years old that this was published. But I'll talk a little bit about it. But if you want the plans, you'll have to track down the Blacksmith's Journal, track down the right issue, see if you can get a copy of it. But there are other plans online for different styles of side draft hoods. I don't know that this is the best. It's a bit complicated, and it works. But I've seen some very simple designs that also work. The overall width of this hood is 21 inches. It's 10.5 inches deep. The hood itself is 40 inches tall, and it goes into a 10-inch chimney pipe. I believe 12 inches would have been better. There are some people out there that are running side draft hoods as small as 8 inches, and they seem to get good results. They may have taller chimneys than I do. Total chimney height from here is about 12 feet. So a taller chimney would certainly help the draft, but a larger diameter does too. Smoke from a coal or coke fire, any solid fuel forge, is lazier and not as hot as smoke from a wood stove, because you are drawing so much fresh air in from the room. So you need a larger diameter pipe than you would for the same size fire in your wood stove or your fireplace. Looking at the back of the hood, the back wall on the inside is sloped, and that forms a shelf. So you got to look at this backwards to figure out what's going on the inside. And that smoke shelf is supposed to help keep air and smoke from coming back down and backdrafting into the room. Does it work? I guess I have no way to be sure that it would be worse without it or that it's better with it. Like I say, I've seen much simpler designs that seem to work just fine. But this was the design in the Blacksmith's Journal, so that's what I built. My opening here is about 10.5 inches, by about 13 inches. And it seems like I have read somewhere, and it may have been in that original article, that the total volume of this opening should be slightly less than the volume of your chimney diameter, meaning that as the air goes up the chimney, it will expand and create greater suction right here. I don't know again if that's completely true. Again, I'm not designing these things. I'm working off other people's ideas and plans. This little extra collar that I put on here really helped its performance, and I think if I had a fold down hood, so I had a little bit of an overhead hood at startup, would also help, because it would help encourage the smoke to go in there. And once this gets hot, it works much better. It doesn't work as well when it's cold. One way to help that is to actually burn some newspaper in the chimney before you light the fire. And that will help create some draft up the chimney at this point. I like using this propane torch for starting the fire. It's just easy. Don't have to chase matches around and find matches every time. And I find from the coal I have that a little bit of a wood fire to start with is beneficial. We'll talk more about lighting and maintaining coal fires in a future video. But you can see not all that smoke goes up the chimney right now because this isn't as warm as it could be. My shop is drafty enough that's not a big deal. With a little bit of an overhead here, a lot of that would go up the chimney. This is actually charcoal that I'm putting on there. Now my blower is not working very well. I need to replace the motor on it or have it repaired. It sounds like it's going to just give up on the blower there. This is a really cool Buffalo Forge blower that I have on here. I have no idea how old it is, but it is kind of tired and wore out. I had the motor rebuilt, 15 years ago probably, and it's starting to wear out again. I don't know if it needs brushes, although I took them out the other day and they look fine, or if it just has seen its last day and needs to be replaced. But we'll see if we can get that fixed, and then we'll get back to doing more in the coal forge. So even with the wimpy blower, you can see how this wants to just draw that flame right up the chimney. And that's the advantage of a side draft forge hood right there. You can still overpower this. If you shovel green coal in, you're still going to fill the shop with smoke, so you still have to have good fire management. So there's a little bit about my side draft forge hood, and that would work just as well for coal, charcoal, or coke. It doesn't really matter which solid fuel you burn. I like it. But for charcoal, which is what I want to go to ultimately, I think an overhead hood would work just fine, and there are some advantages to that, and if I ever do that, I'll explain why I did it. But every time I think I'm going to change the way I do something, it takes years, so don't be in a hurry to cover that subject. In the meantime, get yourself a nice warm something to drink, and don't forget to hang your stocking up by the fire. Have a Merry Christmas, have a happy holiday. Hope you like the video, hope you can get out to your shop, make something, enjoy yourself, but spend some time with family over the holidays. So, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you later.